So we wanted to drill in a little bit about the concept of a filing basis and use, because that is a key difference. As Selena mentioned, it used to be that you had filing bases, at least you could claim proposed use or actual use in Canada prior to 2019. Um, United States has 5 different filing bases, 5 different reasons that you can use to be allowed to file a trademark application. Did you have something you wanted to add there?
With Canada, since 2019, we historically we did have a use basis that you have to say if you've used it and since when. But since 2019, those amendments that were really changed everything, basically got rid of the use basis. So we just file an application. There is no mention whatsoever if you've used the mark or if you intend to use the mark. So there's no date requirement. There are no, in the US, if you've used the mark, you need to file specimens, which are basically showing how you've used the mark. So if it's clothing, you'd add a hang tag, like the clothing item with a hang tag or a label that shows how you sell it. In Canada, we never had that requirement, but we still don't. All you do is you file saying that you want the application without any specimens, without any use. This actually brings us closer to systems like in the EU, where they don't have to say if they've used the mark or not at the time of filing. The advantage of this is that it makes the filing system much simpler. And, we don't have to start to go back and look at when did you use it and what was the first date. This is a very important point for all of you US, clients, anyone who wants to protect their trademark, because they now don't have to wait and say, oh, we're gonna only use in Canada in 3 years or maybe 4 or 5, whatever. In order to obtain a registration in Canada, you do not have to show use or be using the mark. So you can file an application right away in order to protect your trademark. It's not to say that use is not important, because use is important. Later on, we'll discuss that, 3 years after your trademark has been registered, any third party can challenge your mark and make you prove that you have been using it. So eventually you should be using your trademark, but you do have time, as Matthew said, that it takes a while to get registration and in Canada. And once you get the registration, you have time until you can use it. So you're looking at quite a few years, and it's best to file as soon as you think, yes, there's a possibility that we're going to want to protect it in Canada.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that from my US perspective, because it's not only that the systems are different, but it's also that those who are accustomed to the US system often will import their understanding of that to the rights abroad in other countries, including Canada. And so I've regularly encountered circumstances where a business that had every intention and plan to go register and use their mark in Canada didn't do so because they said, oh, well, we're not using it yet. We don't think we're going to start use for another year or two, or whatever it was going to be. And they thought that use requirement was so important before they would go seek the rights, whereas you could just go reserve those rights today, and you don't have to wait. And then you have to go through that whole process, which is quite long in Canada, to get the registration. So by the time the registration issues, you probably will already be using it. And it's it's a timing game. But I think that the pitfall for the US businesses is not to wait. If you thought for a second about Canada, you should have already filed. And that's what many US businesses don't do, but should, and often find themselves in trouble because they didn't.
Mhm.
And so that's why it's really important to understand this difference and to know that you don't have to go prove use unless you're challenged a long, long time later, and you should instead, just go ahead and file.
It's a simple process really to file in Canada if you're using someone who can guide you through it. And it's not a very costly process either. So it's worth it to really to start as soon as you can if you're thinking about Canada at all.
I was going to actually add one more thing, it's just sort of about the difference in complexity, not really about timing anymore, but the fact that we have these 5 bases, you could either claim actual use, intent to use, you can rely on a foreign filed application within 6 months, you can rely on a foreign registration that you obtained, or you could use this treaty that we mentioned, the Madrid Protocol, as a way to get in and get your mark registered in the United States. All those 5. Literally last night, I was working on an application, a US application for a client that had variations of 3 different filing bases depending on which goods or services were in the application. Some of them having 2 bases, some only having 1, and just juggling and trying to figure out all the different pieces. So it can get quite complicated in the US, and in many other places, especially including Canada, it's not. It's not that complicated. So it's a good idea to go ahead.